Hello, welcome to CI Dialogue. Today's second panel is about the third Biennale, Istanbul Design Biennial. It will about various concepts related to design events which serve as a content building platform in very different ways. First, I would like to introduce our moderator and the speakers. Our moderator is Deniz Ova, Istanbul Design Biennial Director, and our speakers are Lili Holein, I hope I correctly pronounce it, Director of the Vienna Design Week and the co-founder, Angela Rui, Design Biennial of Ljubljana Curator, Maya Varjian, Design Biennial of Ljubljana Curator. That's all. I just want to give you.
The panel is obviously not only about the Istanbul Design Biennial, but about different design events taking place in 3 different countries, Turkey, Austria, and Ljubljana. All right, please, quick introduction.
Açtık. Datalar yüksek. Aynen. Fiyat kızı.
Devam et. Gel. Hadi bırakmayın ha.
Şey diyeceğim ama böyle.
Aynen böyle.
Çözeriz. Good. One. Yeah. Okay.
Yes. Okay. Because in the here. So süper.
Azaldıkça
Onun gibi var mı? Nereye?
Sarı.
Bu boş. Bunlar beyaz. Koku bir. Buraya çok az.
Şimdi.
Kaç?
2.20 tamam. 20.
1.66. 1.5. 3.5. Sonra orayı yes, no. If Just
Thank you very much for the video. So this was a quick introduction in the production phase of a Biennale. I'm not going to tell a lot, but I want to leave the floor to my colleagues. But we opened our doors on the 22nd of October, still running till 20th of November. And if you would like to see how this ended up into an exhibition, you can visit us at the Galata Greek Primary School, Studio X Istanbul, the Archaeological Museum, Art Space in Bomonti, and Depot in Tophane again. The theme this year is Are We Human? And Mark Wigley and Beatrice Colomina are our curators for this edition, asking the question what design can be and where it can go, and researching the relationship between the human and design over 200,000 years. But today we're especially together because we want to discuss if design events do really also generate content in the sense of critical thinking and what we're doing. It's not only a fair what we're doing, we try to push some discussions and put design issues on the platform and discuss them and help to understand how the world functions around design, let's say, and around the human, obviously. For that, we have different structures, all of us. I'm the youngest event, I can say, with 3 editions, only 6 years old. So I want to leave the floor to my colleagues who are in the business for such a long time, and maybe can explain a little bit more how it shaped and how the design scene and the design events are changing, actually. So first, Vienna Design Week with Lily Hollein.
Thank you, Contemporary Istanbul, for the invitation, and thanks, Dennis, for making me come here and get for the first time an insight in Istanbul Design Biennale that I have followed for a couple of years. And I think what unites the three institutions that are represented on the panel is that, as you said, neither of us is a fair. We don't dedicate our lives to the presentation of new furniture. We have a different view on design, and this is what we try to provide. And I think what I have seen at the Biennale yesterday is so familiar, and I think these are the important questions that the designers and architects have to cope with. So I'm very happy about what I've seen yesterday. And as Dennis mentioned, we became old. We became 10 years this year, I founded the festival together with two colleagues. This is This is Tulga Bayerle, who is now a director at the Kunstgewerbemuseum in Dresden, and Thomas Geisler, who is running Werkraum Bregenzerwald by now. So of the three founders, I'm the one who keeps running the festival. And Vienna Design Week is, as I said, a private initiative by us three persons, out of the conviction that we said, well, Vienna is not exactly a design destination, but it has a lot to give to a design audience, and we want to make something happen there. So we built up a truly international festival, inviting international designers, but it's intensively linked to the city, and I will show you some examples of how. And and after these 10 years, I'm happy to say that we have achieved some of the goals that we have set when we started. So this is the team today. by coincidence, female only, but it's simply brilliant people around me, and they happen to be women. This was the numbers of this year. We are always 10 days of running time, more than 70 locations spread around the city and 150 events. And in the past 3 editions, we had an average of 37,000 visitors. We are not really through with counting this year's, but I can say it's at least 37,000. The festival, how we set it up is we commission and finance a lot of the projects, and it is a curated event in its whole. Consisting of a couple of, I would say, columns, like we choose a focus district every year. That means we wander around the city. We have a guest country looking at a national scene from a different country every year. This year it has been the Czech Republic, for instance. Then, of course, we have all kinds of things that you would always find on an event like that, like talks or a big educational program, both for adults and children, professionals, and people who just step into the topic. And then we have developed a couple of formats that look at certain aspects. The debut looks at universities, both from Austria and from abroad, and their design educational approach. Then we always try to establish something that looks at urban mobility, industrial design, the more industrial way of looking at design. In totally on the contrary, Passionswege, which is, I would say, a heart piece of the festival, one of the best, internationally best known formats. We talk to manufacturers and team them up with designers, and it's a very special way of how, in this case, I myself do select the people and the places where that I team up. We are the commissioners. We provide a fee and a material budget, so they meet on eye level and can do things that don't necessarily have to be a product. Startarbeit is a social design format that really tries to leave, I would say, recipes of how to solve a couple of questions that our city and many other cities do have. Then we have a format that dedicates itself to graphic design, of course, then all kinds of discursive things. Special is a format dear to my heart. Special includes everything, and in many cases something that I had the feeling I have to stage, or someone of the team came up with a brilliant idea, and we didn't want to push it in one of the formats. We simply thought it has to happen. That's special. And then, of course, we have a large part of program partners, which are people that approach us wanting to contribute to the festival with their own program, and we make a selection here too. And now I'm gonna quickly flip through some things. We also had commissioned a study on the economic impact of our festival on the occasion of 10 years, which proved that people who are either participants or audience of Vienna Design Week can no longer imagine the city without us. I'm very happy that this is what turned out after 10 years. As you can see, we've raised the numbers of events, the numbers of visitors, and the numbers of locations in these 10 years. And we've reached a size that we don't want to exceed. We're about 150 events, and we will not go beyond that. The festival has managed to raise the awareness and interest in design very much with our local visitors. Our audience consists of international professionals, and then a very broad audience that comes from Vienna, and this is one of the premises of the festival. We want to provide a festival that is addressed to both like average people who want to step into the topic of design and design professionals too. As I mentioned, we change focus district and location every year. So this was this year's festival headquarters, a former showroom of artisan carpentry. That was 2014, a wonderful Baroque castle that we had the chance, the Schwarzenberg Castle, to use for 10 days. It has been closed for the past 10 years and open to the public only in the 10 days of Vienna Design Week 2014. So this is also something that we try to achieve, that we open spaces that are normally not accessible to the public. We go to not only to Baroque castles and beautiful environments, we also go to rough districts. Our festival center can be anything. That year it was an industrial building, a former plant for bread, and it's in the 10th district, which is one of the largest districts, or the largest district in Vienna, with a pretty rough and industrial feeling. I mentioned industrial design before, education, the magazine and laboratory, where we tried to also make people familiar with the processes in the creative industry, and where we normally provide a room, a topic, and it is very much about the exchange of scenes with daily talks and formats. Here we see the gorgeous Beth and Laura Wood, who did an installation that year at the laboratory with Oscar Vanles, her being one, I would say, of the emerging figures in design at the moment. Then I mentioned Passionswege, so this is two examples of this year. Rens, a team from Holland who worked at the neon sign producer, and Verena Panholz, a graphic designer who worked at the copper printer. This is a piece by Thomas Alonso for Wiener Silber Manufaktur. So we have very different kind of manufacturers, glamorous and like glamorous materials, glamorous high street shops, but just at the same time we have very normal workshops, very normal producers. This is again a big game, a Swiss team with the Silber Manufaktur, who did a lamp. And I'll make it brief, but the background of Passionswege is in Austria we are still facing a situation where most people would think design is something especially expensive, something that has nothing to do with me. So many of the entrepreneurs still need a sort of design education. The manufacturers don't really know how to deal with. So Passionswege is really like awareness building. We try to push people through the process of working with designers in a curated way, where we try to sort of lead and help them, but in the end they will be more open to experiment than they would be if it was a normal commission. So for instance, a technology like the lighting technology, or a new material, a traditional manufacturer like Silber Manufaktur would have never started to work with anything like that. And the project creates an environment where things like this are possible. Then we have things that products that we developed. This is Adrien Rovero with leather manufacturer in the 2nd district, a super normal workshop. What happened to the project? Adrien Robero continued with Hermes, and he's now one of the main designers with Hermes. So this is how projects out of the 2nd district end up in the most glamorous workshops that you can imagine. This is Philippe Malouin with an installation that he did. This is for Lobmeier. This is also to show it doesn't necessarily have to be a product. It has to be a comment on the place that you work with. And Philippe was interested in the time it takes to manufacture the pieces at Lobmeier, and then he took a couple of materials that are originally for the place, like what looks like sand is the material that would make glass of, and then you have the metal work, which refers to the chandelier part of Lobmeier. And it's a very beautiful aesthetic and intelligent piece that has also been shown at the Victoria and Albert Museum. So there's also something that makes me happy that most of the things coming out of Vienna Design Week do have an afterlife. Especially this is true for Stadtarbeit, the social design project that I mentioned before, which very often results in the festival being the stage to try out ideas that they develop for our call for ideas. We team up with NGOs like Caritas that help the designers to push the project forward. And in many of the cases, these projects went on to be established, to be an instrument that the Caritas continues to work with. This year we had an exhibition about the winning project of last year by a Turkish designer, Ebru Kurbak, who was working with migrant women that go to a cafe in Vienna where they are taught to read and write first in their mother tongue and then in German. And what she said is that most of the time these women are never asked what they are good at and what they can do. Everyone confronts them with, you can't read, you can't write, you don't know our language. So this simple turn of a question resulted in a totally different atmosphere with giving these women a different kind of respect and changed also their possibilities in learning. So this is one of these examples. They continue to work with her. We had this exhibition on the project of last year, this year in the festival. This is a project by Johanna Dehu from Berlin. Beautiful project about cooking, but I think I have to be quicker. Another one of my favorites from many years ago, these three designers working with four women that are at a retirement home, and they went to accompany them for half a year, asking them about the process from moving from your normal environment, from your apartment to a retirement home. What do you take with you? What do you have to leave behind? Also because it's these standardized 20 square meter floor plans. And why this project is so dear to me is it was a project that was addressing so many different audiences. It was the planners that learned a lot about how do we plan retirement homes. It was people who were interested in the project because they were asking themselves if they should go on a list to get a place in the retirement home. And for young people, it was, well, maybe a different way of looking at your own life or how things will develop. And I think it is the whole Stadtarbeit format, but the way these designers work, and I think this is again something that unites all of us here, is design is there to raise questions, to negotiate the topics that society has today and will have in future. And I think design has a more important role today than it had 10 years ago because or maybe 20 years ago, because in the past 10, 15 years, designers had a leading role in asking these questions, maybe even before architecture did, and also moved that way. So this is social design symposium. Everyone knows how these work. Some of the specials of this year. We do a lot of exhibitions throughout the year. This was an exhibition on our Passionswege work over a couple of years that had been shown pretty much all around Europe. This is what we call Vienna Design Week Embassy. In this case, it was a huge tape installation at the Tempelhof Airport in Berlin. So this is, you see, this is a person in there. It was a huge structure that you could climb through. This was an exhibition we did at the Palais in Vienna, again, maybe the more shiny side of design. And this is program partners, for instance, many institutions participate in Vienna Design Week. This is the Wien Museum with an interior by Adolf Loos that they have on display all the time. And Robert Stadler, Paris-based designer, made the room a snow globe, like a snowball, which is a very humorous yet respectful way of highlighting this room in the course of the 10 days of Vienna Design Week. Again, this is only to represent how do institutions with a lot of reputation, when they participate in Vienna Design Week, why do they do that, in which way do they do that, to address different audiences, to show a new perspective on their institutions. For instance, Jerzy Seymour at the MAC did this huge dinner where he developed the furniture, the food, and everything in this one very room for one evening, a very performative thing. But again, threw another light on the Museum of Applied Arts in Vienna, that is a very well-regarded institution. This is our office in Vienna Design Week in Vienna, in a beautiful building by Jean Nouvel. This is also an invitation whenever you happen to Vienna in the other 355 days where there is no festival, come and say hello. And I hope to see you next year at Vienna Design Week.
Thank you very much. How do you engage the institutions, or how much are you involved what they're doing, especially, for example, the Adolf Loos installation or the dinner at MAC? Are these like free falls, they do it whatever they want, or are you guiding them? How is the collaboration?
I'd say it's both ways. I mean, many of these institutions, like the MAC, are responsible for design, and they sometimes do not need our advice. But at the same time, or for instance, at the Wien Museum, the Loos thing, of course, it was the result of a discussion we had together. So we try to, of course, to talk to our partners, as this is also a still curated part. We don't interfere 100% in what they are doing, yeah? But we would like to know what they are planning, or we don't have a topic which we are convinced a festival like ours that is spread throughout the city has so many different views on design. If we would make a headline, a topic, everyone would, and talking about the Biennales, I sometimes have the feeling that a Biennale topic, not in your case, obviously, is something that everyone tries to reach this way. Somehow it always fits in. So you always say, okay, this year it's about freedom, because more or less you can, yeah, it has to do with freedom because blah, blah, blah. Yeah? So we said we don't have any topics, because we want also our partners to leave a message that they think is now important, and it can be very diverse. But we do help everyone who feels like he needs help, and of course we try to involve as many, we try to provide our partners with our international network of designers.
Because having 150 representation means a lot of engagement,
Yeah.
a lot of work, a lot of discussions. Thank you very much.
And I didn't mention that we have to fundraise the money every year anew, and we are half public, half private funded. So that's also very uncommon for a cultural institution or event, that we have half of our budget from private sources.
If you look into Turkey, it's the same situation. We can feel with you, that's for sure. Let's move on to a closer neighbor, Ljubljana. One of the oldest, or maybe the oldest design biennale in the world. So I'll give the floor to Maya, and maybe you can share a little history with us.
We'll talk about the transformation of the Biennial from the 60s to today, but also from the institutional perspective, because we are a museum, one of the rare museums who organize a Biennial. And I work there as a curator of architecture and design since 2013, and I was actively engaged in this time, in this transformation of Biennial, of its content, but also concept and of course the format. So if we look at the Biennial of Design, which was called before Biennial of Industrial Design, it is not just the history of one design event, but it also represents the history of design in general, including recent developments. So we can in fact also look at the bio from a perspective of evolution of a biennial format through time. Oops, is this? Yes. So in fact, as already Denise said, Biennial of Industrial Design, today Biennial of Design, was established in 1963. The first exhibition was in 1964. And it was next to Triennale di Milano, one of the most important design events in the 60s. And the main goal was to establish connections with industry, to promote good design in everyday life, to educate designers and public, and to emphasize the importance of design in the format of exhibition. So BIA was conceived as a kind of comparative, I'm sorry, but it's going without control. BIA was conceived as comparative international exhibition presenting works from different countries that were selected by national design organizations and awarded by international jury. And in fact, as you know, BIA was established in Yugoslavia, and Yugoslavia was a special case in terms of was a kind of special case in terms of non-aligned country. And in fact, BIA was really internationally relevant event, but already in the 60s, already late 60s, 70s, and especially in the 80s, it became very clear that Biennial of Design is not anymore following. I'm so sorry, but it's going, yeah. Yeah, but I think it's automatic. It's, yeah. So in fact, yeah. Can you stop? I mean, that I do it myself, yeah. Because it was, yeah. Sorry, so otherwise I can go back and... You can stop, yeah. Like this? Okay, yeah. So in fact, as I mentioned, it lost its international relevance in the 80s, if you go to the next slide, and especially after 1991, when Slovenia became independent, and in the transition period, which was followed by the restructuring of the industry, BIA, in fact, was really just a kind of design event showing final products that you see here with no critical discourse. And it became obvious that, in fact, a different concept was needed. So we go to the next slide. And in fact, we decided for the change, the first change in 2010 with the new director, the complete rethinking of Biennial took place. And BIA 23 was already a thematic exhibition. We decided for curatorial approach. This biennial was curated by Margot Konix and Margriet Wallenberg from Organization in Design, and the focus was, was focused to design processes. The emphasis was on concept, on production, and not anymore on the final products. So if we go to the next slide, then we came to the next design biennials. Yeah, but it was. Yeah. So in fact, the fundamental.
Shall we just close it and open it?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Okay, please. Yeah. Maybe I can talk while we do that. So in fact, when it was 50 years of the biennial, it was the right occasion for us to question its format and to start thinking, should we maybe close this event, although it has this very rich history, or that we try to really consider it as a kind of opportunity for a radical change in the structure of the event. So we were asking, why making just another event, a design event in Ljubljana, in times that, you know, the design biennials, fair festivals are popping up everywhere in the world? What does biennial bring to the local context? What are the broader consequences? And of course, what is the relevance of this kind of event in the 20th century, also in the context of our museum and broader? So we were analyzing the contemporary condition, and it became obvious the change was really needed. Okay, so I tried to. So in fact, in 2014, we invited Jan Bulan from Z33 to develop together with us a new concept of the biennial. And for Bio 50, that it was called because it was 50 years, he proposed a quite ambitious transformation from local and international competition to local and international collaboration. So we decided for the transformation from a kind of fixed design event into a collaboration platform. And in fact, this platform was called 3-to-1 test. It was really a testing ground. And we gathered together more than 100 international designers and other multidisciplinary agents to engage in kind of large-scale collaboration to devise possible futures from design. So it was not anymore presenting the products, but producing alternatives. And during the event, they tackled all kinds of themes that connect to everyday life, from walking, living, fashion, food, water, vehicles, tourism, and so on. So in fact, here are just some random projects, selection of themes and projects. We produced 53 projects, and I will tell you later that many of them continue. And in fact, the structure was based on 11 topics that were led by local and international mentors, designers, and other multidisciplinary agents, as I mentioned. So in fact, to conclude this part, that we changed the biennial in the sense that biennial was not about the world of design, but it was really designing the world. It was in fact a kind of production of discourse and knowledge, not anymore just production of projects and display. It was kind of laboratory, a testing ground, but allowing also failure and doubt. And in fact, it reflected the changes that were happening in design, where design practice is becoming an act of sharing and collaboration. So to conclude what, in fact, biennial, the goal of the biennial of this platform was and still is to strengthen local and international collaboration, to develop alternatives to everyday systems, to the systems of everyday life, and also to create a kind of resilient structures that develop with local partners also after the duration of the event. So for example, we showed biennial in other exhibitions. This is Atelier Clerici in Milano, or a group of designers is still working together, developing new projects. They're even opening new studios, for example, in Berlin. Or this is the project of a school Vitane, International School of Architecture Association, on nanotourism in Slovenia. And in fact, they are again continuing the project that starting in the biennial. So in fact, for us, as I mentioned, I work in a museum. For us, this biennial really changed the perception of what design and architecture event can be. Also, it changed the perception what a museum could be, because it was really a clear cut into the existing structure of museum. And usually, if you look at the museum world, they look, or we even looked at biennials as event from a kind of cynical perspective, from a kind of, they're kind of binary opposition to the museum, but on the contrary, the biennial can really challenge and significantly change the perception of fixed and established position of the museum, and also vice versa. So, for example, for us, Biennial is a platform that generates a discourse that leaks out of the museum to everyday life, but also brings really change in the way we think, the way we speak, the way we live. For us, it created and still creates kind of new unthinkable possibilities before. Thank you.
And then we swap over to the next edition, which is in 2007 in May.
Yes. Hi everybody. Thank you, Denise, and thank you to Contemporary Istanbul to invite us to present our projects. And yeah, maybe while we are waiting for the presentation, I can start saying that when Bio asked me to participate and to make a proposal of the biennial, what I immediately let's see, 1 second. If it's working. Yes.
Great.
The first thing was to stress the idea of an event as a biennial is. So what is supposed to do today, why we are involved into biennial, what an event, such an event can do locally and internationally related. So one of the marks was, in fact, the format the format of the biennial and the adaptation of the format through its own manipulation in a way. So according with the Slovenian territory and geography, it was immediately clear that it didn't make sense to think that it's crucial to talk about critical urban and sociological condition as it happens in the majority of this kind of events. But it was clear that it was necessary to maybe have a look there, have a look on the characteristics of that places, and then and only after having the perception of the place, understand what it could be a biennial there. So, and about the title, of course, we can speculate a lot. Anyway, what it was crucial for me, for us, because I'm sorry, me and Maya are curating together, a co-curator of this biennial, so we are working together on the next edition. And the initial paradigm responds to the notion that although the city remains the model inside of which the evolution of contemporary society is discussed and interpreted, and while it's true that the number of people who populate the large urban centers continue to grow, it's also true that over recent years, that has been a growth in the percentage of people who are doing the opposite. So a lot of people are moving out of the city in non-urban places, not urban contexts. And we are facing this problem. So the first question is the city still the territory in which we can perceive or find the high quality that we expect from our life? So this was our first intention. So we should think about a new society. Our statement was to think about a new society, of course, that grow up into a model that, of course, it's an educated model. It's made and adopted by urban people, grown in urban conditions, or I mean, like us, of course, then decided to go and to inhabit other kind of places. So what we should question is if we can define a contemporary rural population, and if we can define it, which is the impact of this shift, of the fact that they will find a new way of living in other places that are not the urban context. So maybe we should, what we did in fact, it's also to imagine, really, to produce a new kind of vocabulary and to test a new positioning of this imagined society, if we can say that, that can inhabit new playgrounds, I mean, in which life conditions are good because the places, those places become platforms from which operate. So we can interpret different places under another point of view. That is an example, the coexistence between human, nature, animals, or machine, or we can think about activities that we can bring far away to increase their own quality. In example, this is also banal. How can we work from other places that it's not an office, or as well as to reinvent our bond with customs and tradition, but escaping the idea of nostalgia, or just to take the nostalgia inside the contemporary attitude of living, or just to reenact ancient and rituals energy by the use of contemporary codes and not just using codes that are in our memory and so on. After these first ideas, we decided, to really go in deep into the Slovenian territory. And when you begin to investigate Slovenia, what is immediately striking is how small it is. There are 2 million people, and Istanbul have 20 million people, so you can imagine the scale of the country. But the country in itself has all the characteristics you would like to have in your country in terms of natural, how can we say, wonderful in a way. And I go a little bit, faster. So we adopted Slovenia as a paradigm, totally a paradigm from which we can imagine immediately how, in example, a context of Europe could be if Europe could adopt the same characteristic of Slovenia, that Slovenia has, like, in example, 60% of forest, 40% of just cultivated plots, so immediately it becomes, in our mind, a totally different territory and landscape. And so we started from an initial trip with a friend of us that is also a very good photographer, who is Delfino Sistolegnani, because we needed to discover again the country with another kind of case, just to think and to see if we could find situations over there. So our locations needed to become situations in which then go through a local problem and to enlarge it and to bring it in a kind of wider platform to be discussed. And so we went through different places to find, new meanings, like could be a ruin, could be an abandoned plot, directly in Ljubljana, become a kind of place, a kind of contemporary cathedral for something different to place there. Or we face the problem of the beautiful production of nature in which humans can place themselves just as observer. And so we're trying to ask ourselves why we have this kind of attitude. Or we went through the countryside over there, finding the uncanny, finding surreal objects, if I can say, or infrastructure that can immediately bring the problem of the countryside not only in Slovenia, but I mean just a discussion that you can bring abroad because it's something that we should relate it with in the future. But we also face the real problems that we then called like the end of utopias, or what it's coming after this very important moment that Slovenia had with all the mines during the Industrial Revolution in the last century that are now closing, and also this structure, this is one of the most contemporary one, and it's a thermal power station, is now there quite completely abandoned and looking for new meanings. So what happened is that we went really traveling through Slovenia, finding the places where to place our stories that of course, taking in mind that you should find topics that you can discuss globally, not only locally. So the title you see there are the title of the episode that then we will develop with our guests. So just to go very quickly through the structure of collaboration that we invented. We of course started from the setting, and then we decided to then select 7 profiles, Slovenian profiles, that has never in common with our platform of design or architecture. We just selected, were no individual for the skills, for their own skills in a precise word, and they come from the, we have in examples, a scientist, then we have a sportsman, then we have a criminologist, and then we have, 7 profiles of this way, and also very well known in Slovenia. We also selected them for their personal commitment in their professional field and for their charisma, but it's also, talking about format again, it's also useful then to get in contact with the, in example, with the local authorities, because they function as a kind of attraction to then have the access to from information platforms to funding platforms and so on. And then we pair only after choose the characters, the profiles. We decided who to invite as designers that we call translator, because the designer needed to translate that kind of word. So they have a setting, they have a figure, so a character that is the profile, and only then you put and you stress also design in this way to find to bring it outside our comfort zone and to understand what is possible to do if your area in a way is completely set, if I can say, if you have to relate with someone and somewhere that you don't know yet. And then we have the team. In fact, we received a lot of application, international application. We did the first selection, and then every designer got the chance, of course, to design their own teams. So we have just a limited group of people. We are 50, more or less. Every group is composed between 7 and 8 members of the team with very different skills, and using different medias also that can improve the project. And we will see what will happen, but this is our, trial, also to force a little bit the format. And so this is why we try to do that, because the location, so the local condition become a kind of episode, the story that you can tell around. And the 7 episodes are totally part of the same story. So like chapters of the same, about the same subject. And we go now. Anyway, the main thing is to try to mix the real context and the hyperfiction that needs to intersect. And just to understand how we are working, it's just a few examples of that. Like you have the episodes and the couple. And in example, if you are working really inside the cave, because the cave is one of the locations in which we will go to work, me and Maya decided to always have this kind of dialogue between this far away so close in time, so history and extremely contemporary, and of course the far away in time and in space, because you are in a kind of abstract situation that you need to evolve. So starting from this kind of interpretation, historical interpretation of, in example, a cave that's safe, that it's full of strange and also fear presences. You know that today the underground is also the place in which we save our memory, of course. We save our identity. So just to understand how if you are inside the woods, you of course have the story of the myth. I'm really trying to go super quick, because of course the explanation should be larger than this. But you have again the myth and how today the new kind of mythology through design brings you again inside this kind of places that you discover in another way. So, or again the power of the language, the power of our need of communicate. If during the work could be just a postcard from soldiers saying to their family that they are healthy and they are well, we can also relate in a larger scale with this kind of project taken by NASA in the 70s, but again, talking about our necessity to talk to other presences, maybe if in the future the heart is not existing anymore. So we try to fix this kind of friction and to produce new scenarios, and we will have two interventions, one site specific in the different locations. So our task is also to understand how to relate all of them and who to contact in terms of institution, of local institution or local subjects to take care about the installation. And then we will have, of course, our exhibition inside the museum. And that's all. Yeah.
Thank you very much. We don't have time for questions, I know, but maybe I can wrap up this session somehow. It's clear that all the design events are trying to do something beyond only presenting products, and to explain design beyond only being an expensive object that you can buy or something functional in your life. So design goes through many layers of our lives and is actually omnipresent, I can say. So what we do is look back at the same time in different design practices, especially with your Passionsweg, and try to understand it in a contemporary moment and to put it together with contemporary production ways, but at the same time also see critical into design and have a critical discourse, and maybe try to bring also the discussion beyond the industry and to put it in a cultural setting. We could actually go on, but maybe it's clear to understand that we have doing new experiments. One of you used these words, and these are curated events. Therefore, you have to come and see and dig into it deeper and make a little reading maybe before and after, and just don't just take a glass with you and see it as a design, if you can, to put it very simply. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you very much for coming to Istanbul. Thank you, Contemporary Istanbul, for supporting us with this panel. And maybe after this fair, you can come to see the Istanbul Design Biennale and visit Ljubljana next year in May and Vienna next year in end of September, beginning of October. Well, I mean, we're around if you have questions. Let the other ones prepare.
Okay, thanks. Do you have a section for young generation where are shown their works? Their works are shown, or only adults can visit and show their designs or products? Thank you.
Biennale Design Week has both. We do have workshops for children. We develop every year special tours for schools. We have a lot of schools over the years. This is something that we really targeted and where we intensively worked with the responsibles in the city and in the state government to get them interested to take advantage of the festival to sort of stress design education, and this is something where we have gotten much further. And we do have a lot of workshops for children of different ages, especially also workshops for age that is hardly ever targeted, the 12 to 16. And this is, this is something that we always commission people to develop. And then we have a lot of partners that also, like the museums normally have educational programs for children too. And
the same for us. Museum, in fact, we have a department who deals with different target groups from children of 2 years old, I mean even smaller than to adults. And in fact, they are parallelly working with us already at this stage. So it's not something, the programs for children and teenagers are not just added after the content is there, but we work together to develop a special kind of, I don't like to use the word parallel program because it's really integrated in the exhibition, in the all, in fact, exhibitions and biennials, all the projects we do in museum. Thank you very much.